A complete application will have various types of elements. We have seen dealing with a button click. Now one more essential element we need to know is the input element. So let's first add a text input in the counter component. I will just put an HR here, and then I'm going to say input type is equal to text, and let me also add the data test ID is equal to input along with this element. Now let's check the output once, and you can see that you have the text box on the screen. Now let's try to check initial value for this input. When we were dealing with H3 like element, we used the text content property. But with the text input, we will refer the value property. You must be having the idea that to refer to the value of input, we used to write event.target.value. So value is the property we use when we want to refer the content of input. I will first write a sample test to check that the initial value in input should be, for example, 10. So let's write the test. I'll say test input should have 10 as initial value, and then the function. The first thing is we need to render the component. Now I'm going to say const input element is equal to screen.getByTestID input. That's the name we have given in the data test ID attribute. Now I'll say expect. Now just observe this. I'll say input element dot value. So this is where I was referring the value, and that value is to be 10. Now if I save this, it fails this test, and rightly so, as the input does not have value 10. So let me fix the value at the moment and check. I'll go to counter.js, and here I'll just add an attribute default value is equal to 10. There you go, the test executed with pass status. Now let's also add one more test where I check whether the input is allowed properly or not. This means you will have to use the change event. So I'll write a test where I just say entering value in input works, and again I render the component. Input element and screen getByTestID. Now just observe, I want to send the value 11 to the text box. So I'll say fire event dot change the element name. Here I want the input element. Now I'm going to say comma. As I mentioned earlier, we used to write event.target.value. So the same thing here. I'm going to open the curly bracket, target, colon, again a curly bracket. That's an object literal I'm passing in the target. So value, and 11 is the value I want to pass. Then I'm going to say expect input element dot value to be 10. I'm just trying this to fail the test first. Now let's save, and you can see that it gives error because here it checks the value to be 10. So let me make it 11 and save, and the test succeeds. So this was very smooth, but here there is a catch. Let me first of all comment this initial value test, because I'm planning to remove default value, and in that case this won't work. So let's say I don't want it anymore. Let's just save, and the tests are okay. Now I'll go to the counter.js and just remove this default value attribute. And now you can see that it has stopped working for the test of entering value in input works. Why it has stopped working and how to resolve it, let's check that in the next lecture.